On May 29, 2015, His Excellency ALHAJI ABDULFATAH AHMED was sworn in for a second term as Executive Governor of Kwara State.
I, ALHAJI ABDULFATAH AHMED, do solemnly swear and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so help me God.
As is the practice, Governor Ahmed undertook his first official assignment as he presented his inaugural address, with which he set the tone for his administration's focus over the next 4 years. His Excellency ALHAJI ABDULFATAH Ahmed's inaugural address touched several on issues of great importance to Kwarans, giving a glimpse of what to expect in the days ahead. Already in his first 4 years as Executive Governor of Kwara State, ALHAJI ABDULFATAH Ahmed recorded outstanding successes in the areas of job creation, education, agriculture, roads, health, energy and water. As Kwarans anticipate an even better deal, Governor Ahmed in his address laid every doubt to rest and assuring that his administration's priority remains the welfare of Kwarans and that he will not rest until the prosperity which Kwara State once enjoyed is restored in spite of the global economic challenges. Governor Ahmed enumerated areas of priority of his administration to include education, water supply, health, power supply, road construction, employment and job creation. These, amongst others, will form the focus of Governor Ahmed's second term in office. His Excellency Dr. ABDULFATAH Ahmed, in his address, hinted that Kwara State will see a sharp departure from the traditional dependence on federal allocation, which has become rather unstable, and instead generate revenue internally and independently to fund developmental projects as well as run the economy of the state.
I, ABDULFATAH Ahmed, will not rest until the prosperity that our state once enjoyed is restored.
On youth empowerment, job creation and entrepreneurship development, the administration will be scaling up on Kwara Bridge Empowerment Scheme, Kwabes, the Quick Win Initiative, and SME Loan Scheme, thereby creating new jobs and entrepreneurship development.
That the first thing that we did was Kwabes. You notice that the unemployment rate was high, which we needed to, address. So I was part of the committee that designed the Kwabes scheme. After Kwabes, you will notice that there was Quick Win that was later introduced, and Quick Win specifically was to address, Kwabes was just to give them temporary employment and then try to see how you migrate them into full service or the private sector. But coming from our learning points from Kwabes is that a lot of the people or the beneficiaries actually are just educated. They don't have hands-on skills. So Quick Win was as a result of the learning points from Kwabes. So Quick Win was much more focused on training, right? Skill acquisition, and then empowerment will follow. So I think those were, and there were about almost 10,000 beneficiaries. On Kwabes, maybe about 3,000 or 4,000, more than that. So overall, you have close to 14,000 to 15,000 people over the last 4 years that have one way or the other who are doing nothing and are now engaged in something. Some have acquired skills. I think that's for me personally, I think that's the greatest achievement of the administration. And this office was involved in the development of the strategy for all those schemes and activities.
We'll bring into a functional level the International Vocational Center, which we hope to take full functional levels in the next few weeks. This will see our youth getting access to training programs in different aspects of the economy. And we also intend to support this with access to small and medium enterprise funding that will enable them jumpstart as entrepreneurs. But the most important part of it is that apart from the fact that it will be compartmentalized into cooperatives, would also require their services. They will see patronage from government and would also encourage patronage from other citizens of the state. So by and large, they begin to see their services also being keyed into the bigger economy of the state. The Quick Win program we started in the last administration would also be upscaled to see that these youths go through the entrepreneurship training and are also supported with small and medium enterprise funding arrangements that will see them truly going into entrepreneurship. I want to assure you that the youth program will be seeing a huge level of upscale to levels where those who hadn't opportunities in the past will see the opportunities now. The interesting thing about it is that it will be an available program to residents of Kwara State, not about indigents of Kwara State, to residents.
The strategic plan to consolidate on the achievements in agriculture sector is highlighted.
One of the major aspects of implementation was to set up some kind of structure, that we see to some of the earlier processes that were supposed to have been in place, and His Excellency did that. However, there are so many other aspects of it, that include supporting, cooperatives, farmers' cooperatives, working on, encouraging businesses, because believe me, this master plan is an enabling plan that government is going to enable the people of Kwara State. The goal is to make people themselves, empower them to take charge and go into agribusiness and go into production. This is not a plan for government to embark on production. You see, this is a plan to give all that is necessary, in terms of encouragement, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of facility, in terms of even making some laws, just to get, the whole people of Kwara ready and go, and take off, in this. To that extent, His Excellency has begun immediate implementation through supporting cooperatives.
If you look at the program we started from the lessons we learned from Shunga Farms by creating an off-taker demand-driven agri scheme. We started with a model of 10 farmers per local government. That took us about 172 farmers. We intend to see that these farmers now become change agents. Each of them will now be clustered with additional 10 farmers, and we expect to see an organic growth pattern in this agri scheme, because we have firstly succeeded in de-risking the agri business by creating a value chain beginning with the farmer and ending with the off-taker. Now, by the time we begin to encourage others to drive their programs as such, they would also begin to see the benefit that comes with it. Apart from the fact that they will have access to easy inputs, they will also have access to outputs and impact. For us, the model has succeeded. The next level will be upscaling, where we want to begin to see each farmer that participates in this business ultimately becoming a change agent in his or her location. And that ultimately brings about an organic growth of the farming arrangement in Kwara that will truly see our farmers moving from subsistence farming to commercial farming, to the extent that they know what they will grow, in what size of farm, and who they will sell to, and how much they will earn. That's the kind of arrangement we have put in place for our farmers.
Education is a pivot of development, and His Excellency ALHAJI AHMED, in his inaugural address, underscored its importance and the administration's plan to further strengthen the sector.
Right from the time Kwara State University was created, government made a plan to have 3 campuses. One main campus in Malete, 2 other campuses And to really get the university going, the main campus had to be built, and a lot of money was put into this, a lot of efforts by government. In fact, the latest construction, if you go to campus now, is the engineering building. It's an enigmatic, I mean, it's huge, billions of naira, which the government of Kwara State is committing, you know, to our engineering, because our engineering is one of the best in Nigeria. We do aerospace. We're the only university that does aerospace in this country. So a lot of things that we do in engineering has put us at the top. And the government is giving us this solid support. But what the government is also doing is to say, now that Malete is taking off and taking off strongly, you know, His Excellency announced during this inauguration that Ilesha Baruba and Usi campuses will also take off.
2,000 classrooms will be done in secondary schools across the states. That's a lot of injection of funds. And so basically, carpenters, masons, builders, painters, all sorts of artisans will be engaged. Beyond that, those communities will be considerably developed in terms of economic activities and even estate developments that will take place as a result of these campuses being open there. So it's part of the overall strategy of Governor ABDULFATAH Ahmed to inject and stimulate more economic activity into Kwara State so that more of our youth get employed, our businesses make more money. And as he said in his speech, food on more tables, which is the bottom line. That's what he's been employed to do, to improve the welfare of Kwarans. And that's what he's determined to do even better in this second term.
We'll be upscaling in renovation of classrooms at the basic levels. We're upscaling in the renovation and construction of new classrooms at the secondary levels. And of course, at the tertiary levels, we'll be seeing expansion and setting up of some of the campuses we had in the pipeline. Looking at the basic levels, in addition to renovation, we'll be building new classrooms. I think we'll be doing a total of close to about 2,000 new classrooms. Of course, in over 120 schools. But most importantly, we'll be doing this on the strength of need. A proper need assessment is being carried on that will ensure that the right number of students are supported with the right number of classrooms, and ditto teachers and all of the inputs required for proper education. We intend to make schools' participation in sports to be properly highlighted this time, because we see that sporting does a lot of support in helping to mold an average child's mental system. That is why we'll take advantage of this to ensure that we'll make it available to most of our schools. This is what we want to begin to encourage in most of our primary and secondary schools. For the tertiary levels, take Kwasu for instance. We set up Kwasu in Malete, and we intend to have a campus of School of College of Environmental Studies in Kwara South, which is in Osi precisely, and School of Agriculture in Ilesha Baruba in Kwara North.
In the health sector, Governor Ahmed posited that the focus of his new administration on health is to make Kwarans healthier through infrastructural upgrade and accessibility to qualitative and affordable healthcare delivery services.
What His Excellency is determined to do is develop a whole system, health system on a holistic basis. So you have the primary healthcare system, you have the secondary, and you have the tertiary. So at the tertiary level, there are going to be more primary healthcare centers and more comprehensive healthcare centers across the whole state, so that our people can access basic healthcare on their doorsteps. His Excellency is determined to expand the community health insurance scheme, under which you pay just 500 naira per year and you get access to basic healthcare for the whole year for free, technically.
The health sector, it borders on two key areas. Firstly, improving availability. Secondly, improving accessibility. Availability will be improved by, of course, looking at the current levels of the primary, the basic health centers, the general hospitals, and of course the specialist hospitals. We've done quite a few, just like you said. We did 5 general hospitals. We also look at new areas where we need to improve the general hospitals. We'll go ahead, do the improvement. And then we look at new areas where general hospitals are required as a result of increased population. We build general hospitals there. We look at areas where primary health centers are required, and ditto basic health centers. The most important thing is that we'll still be pursuing our policy of ensuring that people do not move more than half a kilometer to access basic health services. That is in terms of availability.
ALHAJI AHMED also spoke on his administration's vision of making Kwara State the economic hub of north-central Nigeria.
The first strategic plan here is improvement on our infrastructure, which I've outlined will be supported from the internally generated revenue that would aid us in meeting the set goals in our infrastructure deployment. The second one is to take advantage of agriculture. Our desire to make it into an industrial hub will be skewed towards agriculture because we have a comparative advantage in the north-central axis. And don't forget that we have a very vibrant airport here, which could be transmitted into an agric airport, provided the right framework, the right structures are put in place to utilize the cargo terminal into an agric support airport. So I see those potentials, and I see us truly coming together with our brothers and sisters in North Central to move the zone from the current levels to a truly agric hub for Nigeria.
Adequate power supply is indispensable to economic development. Hence, Governor Ahmed, in his inaugural address, stated that plans are underway to embark on independent power projects to boost the economy.
There are different sources of support for electricity, i.e. gas, water, coal, wind, and of course solar. We would exploit these options to ensure that we set up a minimum of 100 megawatts electricity generating plant within Kwara that will support the much needed electricity demand. I want to assure you that we have a huge focus on that, because that is the only way we can truly move from the current levels of reliance on the civil service to an industrial environment, which of course we hope to be agro-driven by the very nature of Kwara State being an agro environment. So for us as a state, in addition to the usual deployment of transformers, making lines available, we want to see that an IPP is developed to support energy requirement in Kwara State.
Governor Ahmed clearly stated that his administration can no longer depend on federal allocation in view of the reality of dwindling revenue accruing from global oil sales, hence the need to reposition internally generated revenue.
Ordinarily, if you look at the world over, from the beginning of life, people live on taxes. Our forefathers, the means of financing infrastructure during their time was taxation. And they derived this through agricultural produce, giving autonomy to the state board. Financial institutions are separately taken care of. You don't bring financial institution that will perform under the same structure of the civil service. They may not. That leads to some of the leakages. But if now they are separately driven, there are a lot of advantages in what we call autonomy.
The Kwara State government has positioned itself to meet up with the challenges ahead. They are now restructuring the Board of Internal Revenue, to make it more efficiently run and more effective, whereby we have a new and experienced management that will drive our idea. And we now have a robust system, an application that will be linked to the banks and linked to all the ministries. And there will be back-end audit. So there won't be whatever you are paying, it will be spread out, it will be in the system. So it's not as if somebody will just come and harass you on the road, you're supposed to pay the no, there won't be that again. Just go to the bank, you pay, you can even pay it in the comfort of your office. So nobody will come and tell you, you're supposed to pay this, you're supposed to pay that, you know what to pay, everything is well stated.
From the analysis of case, we said to ourselves, if we have to meet up with this 250 billion gap over the next 10 years, because the governor said, what can we do in the next 10 years? It means that you need an average of about 25 billion investment every year. And if you look at, the income profile, which is relying on the federal allocation, you find out that it will be difficult because a lot of the inflow that comes in from the federal government is being used to pay wages and salaries and maintenance. So a little is left for capital projects or infrastructure development. Actually, what we have done is to develop a strategy whereby we need to diversify, or we need to increase our revenue profile to say 50-50. So in a month, if we get 2 billion or 2.5 from the federal government, we should be able to generate 2.5 billion internally, right? So if we have like a 5 billion or 6 billion monthly, and it's 50-50 profiled internally and from FAC, then we'll be able to attract that capital, right? And then we'll be able to do, big projects. So what we set out to do is, when we realize that we now cut out a strategy, how do we then, implement this? How do we make this a reality? And that was what led to the restructuring and retooling of the Kwara State, Revenue Service.
It is becoming increasingly clear that government business cannot be done by heavy reliance on the federally allocated funds. On premise of this, we are reviewing our internally generated revenue platform and upscaling it to levels that would enable it to support the much required funding that would drive all the programs we highlighted, especially in areas of infrastructure, human capital development, and of course, stimulating the local economy to ensure that our people get benefits of good governance. So by and large, we'll be premising our activities on a new drive of internally generated revenue that would upscale the revenue level to levels where we'll begin to see all those programs outlined, executed.
The second term of ALHAJI ABDULFATAH AHMED as governor of Kwara State, no doubt fraught with the challenges of a dynamic global and national economy, is poised to create a better environment for investors and Kwarans alike.
The change has been spoken on loudly, especially during the campaigns, which I would see was a conscious level to begin to make Kwarans and indeed Nigerians see the need to move from where we used to do things to areas where we can do things better. It's been generally acknowledged that change is desirable in the way and manner in which business is carried on in Nigeria, especially government business. It's beginning to tell us that it will not be business as usual. Government must begin to see itself as being very responsible and also has a responsibility towards the electorate. Therefore, on the side of those of us that are emerging as governors, as legislators, as presidents, it is clear that it is a business of delivery of goods and services. It is no more business as usual. Because like I said, credibility starts with the electoral process. Because it tells you that the people can change you when you are not doing what you say you will do. So for us, we are fully committed to making people see the impact of this change, which will start by first driving compliance in areas of civic responsibility.
Kwara State is now set to witness a quantum leap propelled by the audacious vision of His Excellency ALHAJI ABDULFATAH AHMED. Governor ABDULFATAH AHMED, making our good better.